start the official conversation, I guess, I'm joined by Bob Friel, and you own a brokerage now, right? You moved?
Yes.
Okay. That's awesome. So that was a big change for you last year, was it last year, 2022 or?
That happened right before the pandemic, actually.
Okay. So it was a couple of years ago then.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And you came from where?
I was working with the Federal Savings Bank.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So they were based out of Chicago. And then when I moved to Denver, let's say 13 years ago now, I was the first employee that had like remote access. So that was new. And I was using Zoom like way before, it was a thing. And so that's where I kind of started like structuring, my process was if I was new in Colorado, starting from scratch, I knew a couple realtors out here, but I was like, how can I get the most amount of loans with the least amount of touches? So like my big focus was always conversion. And I think it's easier just to talk to, 10 qualified people and get 8 deals versus, 100 and get the same amount, where you're just like throwing out rate quotes or whatever the case is. But yeah.
Oh, that's so to talk to me about that. I mean, that's the marketing secret sauce right there. Even if you found a way to somewhat crack that code, that's like game-changing stuff. So what did you find? Was it a position in the funnel? Was it the content? Was it filtering early on? How did you determine who was worth your time?
Yeah. So, it sort of comes down to like a gut feeling. I don't know what it is. Cause I started banking at a branch level at Chase, right? So like you always, when you were working with like a big bank, right, that you had to talk to like 100 people a day in the lobby. So like you could always kind of get that general feeling, hey, is this person going to do something or not, right off the top. And then when it came to mortgage, I mean, it's just, if you can create a decent first call, we were always kind of trained at this Federal Savings Bank to like, okay, get them in your seat or a face-to-face meeting if they were to call in, right? So it's like you have to answer a few questions, build some quick rapport, but ultimately, like, you know how it goes. You can't just be quoting anything over the phone.
Yeah.
Right. That's not how mortgages work. I mean, as much as the client seems to think so, it's not the case.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was always like, okay, if I can present something to somebody, make them feel good about, what they're trying to do, and I can help them with a solution, a face-to-face meeting, whether it's Zoom or in person. I mean, that was always the key for us, is like, let's get that piece done. And then the conversion piece kind of happens after. So.
Yeah, that makes sense. So then you said something there that rings a bell from like some of the marketing I've seen you do, which is, you try to make your customers feel good.
Right.
So what's the name of your brokerage?
Real Good Mortgage.
So then that's sort of like your whole value proposition, like what you're putting out there to the world about, which I think is really smart, because the mortgage process is terribly stressful and painful and scary for most consumers. And so you said, like, let's make your clients feel good. And then you associated your name with that feeling.
Yeah,
in the mortgage process.
Just kind of a lucky pull of the string, I guess.
Yeah, but I mean, so what? I mean, it's still really clever, and I think it works. It works really well, and I think it plays off well in your marketing. And I was surfing your website, and I see that, you have a pretty defined customer journey. So talk to me about how I'm a borrower, I contact you. What's the steps for me to move through the process?
Yeah. So what we did all of last year. So like, to answer your first question, when we started your brokerage, like, I didn't know what else.
Yeah.
Right. So like, then the pandemic hit and things were crazy. We either we did or referred like 150 transactions the first, 2 years of our business, but it was like, you're pulling your hair out. I didn't know what the hell I was doing as a broker. So so what we decided to do was structure like basically a discovery call, a loan consultation call, and then a file kickoff call, whether it's purchase or refi. So that really dumbs down from a client's like anxiety level perspective. Like you're doing incremental, let's say 30 minute meetings, but 3 of them, and you're really only focusing on the high level stressors that they have in the first one. The second one, you're cleaning up like, hey, this is why you want an FHA loan. This is why you don't. This is why you want the jumbo, blah, blah, blah. So like when they go on and place offers, our clients don't have that anxiety. So we have a mortgage calculator, for the field, and they can, do loan refreshes with us if it's been a month or two, since they got their initial pre-approval. But that's what we do. We do a discovery call. If we have a personal good fit, like, so the offer at the end is, hey, we would love to have you as a client. We're thrilled to take you on. Do you like us enough to want to do your loan? Yes. Cool. Okay. The next thing is we'll book your loan consultation. And if you can say you'll do your loan application, get your documents uploaded by, 10 a.m. tomorrow, we'll put you on the calendar for 2 p.m. Friday. Is there anything that would, cause you not to be able to do that? Yes. Okay. I'm out of town. Okay, cool. Tuesday, right? So then we have a structure, and the client, what I found is the client really just wants to be led, right? To the point where they just, over time, like my goal is by the time they're under contract, they just go, Bob, just tell me what to do and I'll do it. Yeah. Like then you totally won, like their confidence. But that's really like the ultimate goal. Just what would you do? You do it. Okay, cool. Tell me what I need. Bye. Right? Like that's kind of what we're trying to accomplish with the structure of our onboarding process, our presentation process, and then the file kickoff.
So it starts like early on, right? You said something which I've actually never heard, which is pretty cool. And that is, you're telling your customers, hey, we've decided that we'd like to work with you.
Yeah.
So you're flipping the script. It's like, as a loan officer, you're not a commodity. You're making decisions about your business and who you can work with and all that stuff. And you're letting them know about that, which makes them feel special, or I mean, how do people respond to that?
Yeah. I mean, we don't never negatively. They only act negatively when they get to the point where it's just like, holy shit, like these people are way too much of a hassle. Then I say, listen, like we would love to have you as a client, like long term, but clearly you're not following the protocol. So my suggestion is go somewhere else.
Oh yeah.
And they get pissed at. Well, it's like, well, sorry, but it's a tactic that everybody uses. Go through at any social media feed. You want sunglasses? You click a button, and they're like, oh, you get $5 off for the next 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Right. It's a scarcity thing, right? It's it's been used forever in marketing, but like we say, we only take on 5 clients a week. We have a couple of slots left. If you'd like to take one, we would love to have you. And people are like, hell yeah, dude.
Scarcity is not something, even though like I totally understand what you're saying. And I understand all that. It's not something that's typically used in like sales in the mortgage industry, And so that's pretty cool that you set yourself up for that, because what you're doing is you're sort of weeding out those people who are not going to commit to your process, right, and that are not going to, jump when you need them to, which means at the end of the day, if you get clients who do what they're supposed to do, they're going to get their loans closed. They're going to be happy. They're going to feel good about it, and they're going to refer you. So it all starts, it sounds like, with that first step where you're getting them to first identify that you're not a commodity, and second, you're getting that commitment to a timeline that they have to meet to even get the second meeting with you.
Right. And yeah, because the loan consultation, right? Like I use, I'm not sure what the hell is it called? Mortgage Coach, right? It's just a cool software that integrates with the way that, I kind of present anyways. So we give them a precursor to that in the discovery call, which says, hey, what loan do you think would be best? The one with the highest or the lowest interest rate or whatever. And they're like, oh yeah, for sure. But then you show them, hey, that's a FHA loan. right? And you say, hey, we're going to do the same thing once we have all your documents in the loan consultation, where we're going to
Yeah.
talk about sales price, cash to close, and, your monthly payment. And it's like, we basically tell them, hey, we're going to treat you like family and we're going to give you 100% effort, but you have to kind of go through the system,
Yeah. So when you say you say we, so I mean, who's on your team today?
Yeah. So it's my buddy Jordan works with me now. So he's new to the industry. Um, Shoot, how long has he been here now? A little over a year, let's call it.
Sure.
So he's kind of like he's like the client success manager. Okay. So whether that's a realtor onboarding or a client onboarding. So he's like front end. So he'll do scheduling. He'll handle some, document gathering, which is a lot automated anyways. But he's kind of like the main guy, where then I can focus on, banking relationship or whatever. And we both do processing and touch bases and stuff like that. But, he kind of handles the front end stuff. One, because he just needs to be trained. Bottom line, like if you're new to the industry, it's a little nerve wracking for people,
Yeah.
I think, because it is finance and there's terminology. You're like, what the hell is all this shit?
Yeah.
So it's a lot of that. And so we did pay for leads last year, cold leads online, which was never something that we wanted to do. But I was like, okay, if I can allocate 30 grand to something like this, just get him touches, that's like, I don't know, 2 years worth of referral touches.
Yeah.
So Jared works with me, and he kind of handles all of the front end stuff. And we have automated quite a bit with Zapier and, just our CRM. And when you point and click on our client, checklist, it'll send out text messages and emails. And, all the emails that we have, though, is all me with a video explaining whatever the subject of the email is. So they're getting a lot of FaceTime because we use Zoom, because Jordan mans up Denver, and then I'm here. I live in the mountains. So like I'm at a corporate office in the city there, handful of times a month. But
So then so how much time are you spending then, like with each customer, do you think, start to finish?
So discovery calls 15 minutes, loan consultations 30, loan kickoff call is like 10 minutes, 15 minutes maybe. So that's like 45 minutes, hour. And then if necessary, we do a CD review, closing disclosure review. Because what we've noticed is we have a template email that goes out with a video that explains, what they're getting. We send out their closing disclosure, but probably half of the time people have more than one email question. So we just say, hey, let's, book a time for a 15-minute closing disclosure review, and we just get that done.
Yeah.
That. So like an hour, maybe 2 at the most, if it's like super crazy in depth. Like some clients are a little more challenging than others or have more questions. So like we'll give them that, but like ideally it's really concise.
But that's not with everybody, right? Because there's those checkpoints and gateways to determine early stage, identify if they're a customer. Then they've kind of made it through the vetting process, and now you're investing a little bit more time. So maybe half of that is sort of like only official clients on the pathway to close a deal. And then you said you use video to help sort of through the process. So talk to me about that. What is your
version? So, a funnel, right?
Yeah.
So any entry point online, so if they find me on any of our digital let's call it, so YouTube, Facebook, whatever, website, Google My Business. We're trying to, rank up the ladder on Google My Business. So if you come in anywhere, like you're automatically either a purchase or refi, and you're getting messaging from me automatically from our CRM that is designed to like make them feel good. Like it's all video. So it's all me explaining whatever the context of the video is, designed for them to say, okay, cool. When they reach out to me, I've either seen 2 or 3, 4, 5, 10 videos, right? And then there's different messaging throughout the process. So we have 100 video emails that we built out that can be used for any part of the process. So really, it's just designed for either education. So I don't have to say it more than 1 or 2 or 3 times, right? Because that's why we figured out the presentations the way they are. Is we just get all of their questions up front because everybody has the same questions. So it really makes it a lot. That's why the presentations can be faster in the loan consultation because they're getting messaging about things that they have. And then my mortgage calculator suite that I have all has widgets in there with other video, other downloadable ebooks that explains the process.
I think so. So then the video stuff, I mean, are you just shooting that with your phone, or do you have like, how are you recording? Do you have like a DSLR? I mean, even.
Yeah, so I have a GoPro 10 or something. And then I have a 4K Apple phone.
So yeah, okay.
I typically lately we've been using the ChatGPT, get our scripts, clean those up, humanize them a touch. We'll record. Then I edit let's say it's a 20-minute video. I edit everything down, usually to say 8 to 10, if it's long form, right? And then one of my buddies from college has a video editing service that they'll make social media copy for us. They'll make a blog post copy for us, and then they also have an email copy for us. That's part of the long form video that we can just plunk into whatever medium that we're going to be sending that information out to.
That's cool. So you're recording one video, and then it's going to be turned into multiple pieces of content for you to leverage, depending on the scenario.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I don't know if like he invented it, but that's like the Gary Vaynerchuk strategy, right? Where you're chopping it up, distributing it out. And that's sort of what we've been doing with these podcasts, actually. We've been taking little snips and turning it into 10 different videos, like 1-minute shorts, YouTube shorts, and just, it plays great that way. And people get the information they need when they need it and don't have to listen to too much. So it's pretty cool. I know you've been doing that for a long time too. Are your videos like just business, like professional, or
more casual what I wear?
Okay.
I used to wear a bow tie and all that stuff. Then like, clients don't care. I mean, not my clients anyways. I mean, I'm sure,
yeah,
some people would care, but
not the people you want to work with.
Well, honestly, dude, like, some people I'm like, so if I show up to the closing, should I wear my bow tie? Some people are like, yeah, dude, I like it. And then other people are like, wear whatever you want. So like, I will ask,
Okay.
But in general, I mean, this is my second room in my house here. So like, this is my office, is dedicated office. So people can come if they want. But, yeah, I don't know. I guess I went off on a different direction. What was the official question?
No, that's fine. Yeah, that was it. That was my question. I was, because I noticed in your content, it's casual, which I think what makes it feel good, right? It gives you that kind of authentic feeling. One of my early mentors, in the business, who I'm actually going to be interviewing in a couple weeks. She's a really unique person because she's just endlessly authentic with everybody, to the point where it gets awkward sometimes. She's like, hey, hold on, I got to go, to the bathroom, or I just peeped through my paint. I was like, oh my God, she's talking to a customer. And customers
they do it too, though. That's the thing. People
do that. They do. Yeah, people do things. I mean, it's like everyone can relate to it, and she creates this unbelievable connection to people just by being authentic. And I found that a lot of your content's kind of the same way, same kind of deal. And hearing what you're saying now, using video to leverage is really cool, because it gives you a bit more free time, so you're not doing those same, like you said, the same conversations with everybody over and over and over again. So I'm assuming that based on that, you've created a bit more balance in your life than what you used to have.
Yeah. So I don't have anything go to my cell phone. What I noticed is when your client kind of follows the process, you don't get pinged and dinged on the weekend. Like they can always email or like text in, to my work number. Like they don't do that. Realtors do. but they're like, hey, we're placing an offer. It's like, okay, freaking place the offer. Who cares? You have access to make a pre-approval letter if you want to adjust it. Because I give my realtor partners, access to the borrower portal with certain adjustments that they can make on a pre-approval letter to be specific to, 850 or instead of 825 or whatever, like loan, purchase price. But, yeah, like clients don't, like if they have a calculator, they understand the general concept of what's going on. Like they're not nervous. They're not calling on the weekend.
That's really good.
Like, I can't tell you the last time I got a phone call on the weekend.
And there's not like somebody goaltending those for you. It's just that like you're building a better foundational understanding of the process.
Yeah.
And the content is delivering the information that they want, and the tools you're providing are getting them sort of like the engagement and the real-time answers that they're looking for.
Yeah.
So that you can,
in the field is all they need, dude.
Yeah.
And like when we show up on any day, like the calculator, if somebody was cranking on it, all these different scenarios, we get updates for it, and then we just call them more.
Yeah. Nice. So, when they're hot, they're ready to go, who needs attention.
But what we learned too from the mortgage marketing animals is on Thursdays, you do your pre-approved and looking calls. And granted, last year was really slow, compared to, I think we did 50 deals, which isn't a ton. But, implementing a new person and implementing some strategies that we haven't ever done and building out a CRM is a really horrible task. It's so like, just stuff takes time.
Yep.
But, like the pre-approved and licking calls. So like if you haven't talked to somebody in a couple weeks, we just do a mortgage refresh, and it's a 15-minute conversation saying, hey, are you going to go out, to look at properties this weekend? Yes. If so, let's crunch some numbers so you're comfortable with the payment based off of whatever house you might place an offer. So then again, you're getting ahead of that, and then you meet with them Thursday or Friday, whatever, and then you're still now dealing with them over the weekend because you've already done that during the work week.
So you're planning in advance the work that would take you away from doing the things you want to do, so they don't take up that time.
So right. Yeah, so the basic infrastructure of what we built was like the concept that since I started doing all this like years ago was like, okay, how can I give the same conveyor belt of McDonald's sandwiches in like loan form? And it, things change and you tweak things here and there, but it's like, if you can potentially see something downstream, just like when you're building a loan file for the underwriter, you get it up front or you address it up front. So like 2 weeks from now, you're not worrying about it. So that was just the basic concept. So we're constantly tweaking the messaging based on, okay, if this person's going, like my discovery call slide deck right now is like 15 slides. There's like 90 slides in it, right? That we've used at various times, where if somebody goes dull on you, okay, get rid of that slide. It doesn't, not moving the needle. So same thing with anything, downstream. If you're getting texts or emails or a realtor phone call at the same part of the process every time, then something's wrong. Maybe not wrong, just adjust it a little bit.
Yeah.
So that's what we've been doing the last like year since it's been slow.
Yeah.
Honestly, like we're literally just probably over analytical, but it's kind of nice.
Well, it's good. I mean, because now you're, like you said, kind of starting this, you're able to build that foundation for what's going to happen when the business does ramp up. And then you won't necessarily have to spend 16 hours a day working, because you've got the systems in place that have already been tested at light capacity that will probably be good once you've got more customers.
Yeah.
So you've got just your is it somebody you knew before, your buddy working with you? And
yeah, we knew each other since we both lived in Chicago.
Oh, nice.
And then he had moved out here probably like a year or two before I did. Again, he's just really good with client communication. People dig him. You know what I mean? So like he wanted to. Well, what he saw was like kind of the growth of like the Bob the Baker brand at the time when I was at the bank. So now we've morphed it to just Friel Good, mortgage or whatever. But he's kind of saw that like process, and he was getting burnt out with his job doing healthcare. So I was like, yeah, let's do this. good thing I'm a pretty good saver. So I like saved a whole bunch of money during the pandemic or whatever, because, life was good. So we've been just running payroll and everything off of savings, and of course revenue that's been coming through. And then testing all these different, systems, finding out where they break down and cleaning them up. So we've been busy doing stuff like that, versus just being busy with loans and feeling scattered anyways, because we didn't have a process because I was new.
Yeah.
I didn't know what the hell I was doing.
I forgot all about the Bob the Banker brand when you were at Federal.
Yeah.
I remember that. Yeah. Different hair, I think.
Shorter. Yeah. No, I was a little mullety, but
it works though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, talk to me then a little bit about, your marketplace, when you're in Denver, is that right?
Yeah. That's where most of our business is.
Okay. And you live in the city, or you said you're in the mountains?
I live in Eagle, which is just past Vail Ski Resort. So it's like 2 hours from Denver.
Okay. So that's quite a ways away. I mean, so then you're, as a part of most loan officers' lives these days, like prospecting, maintaining, growing realtor relationships is a big deal. And so
really hard for me being here for sure. So it's a lot of Zoom stuff. So what we worked on last year is a kind of like a funnel system for conversion for realtors that we presented to a couple different broker owner shops so far, and they want to roll it out to their agents. But what we found is like really hard to corral people these days.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just difficult. People want to use it. It's really pretty cool because it gives them the same access that I have for all my clients, but they don't have to do the work. I just duplicate my funnel and they can have it. Really?
Oh, cool.
So we've been working on kind of building out our database of realtors from past transactions or whatever, and then starting Monday, we're going to start to really ramp up our face-to-face meetings and get this out to the marketplace based off of agents that want to grow their business, or may have had a little bit of a downturn from the recession or whatever that our industry at least has had.
So you took what you built, sort of the funnels, the content strategy, the videos that you built for your mortgage business, and you found a way to take that same kind of like process and white label it for a realtor, move it over so that they can leverage it in their business.
Yeah. Yep. So basically, that like a realtor can use our pre-qualification landing page. That it has like a back office tag on the URL that's tagged to that realtor in our CRM. So let's say Michael fills out Susie Q's, landing page for pre-qualification. She comes into our system, right? Or you come into our system tagged to her. Mm-hmm. So we know exactly who the realtor is for that client. We can pick, invite them to the discovery call when that client gets onboarded. The calculator that we give them would be associated with that realtor, right? So that realtor is getting, when we do our updates, let's say pre-approved and looking updates, we call the realtor after we touch the client and say, hey, this client wants to go out. They're using the calculator like crazy, right? So we're helping them convert so that they don't have to figure it out themselves.
Yeah.
We control the asset, right? Still, but we're giving them something of value because in a perfect world, they're talking to more clients. We can get more clients by them having an easier onboarding process instead of going, here's 3 people, call them, which that it's a terrible way to run a business.
Yeah, right. I know. Yeah, exactly. Because 2 of those 3 people refer to their realtors, and then, it's like, that's.
So yeah, so when I have a client that needs a realtor, I'm not giving out 3 names. I say, hey, if I was buying a house in, Sloan's Lake neighborhood of Denver, this is my guy.
Yeah.
Why? Because he's going to save you time and money during the process. He's also a kick-ass negotiator. But if you don't like him, let me know and I'll hit you up with somebody else.
Yeah.
If I just want to be told what to do.
Yeah, find the person who.
But they want to plan. They want to plan. And that's what the system does. It's like a really simple thing. The agent can just share the calculator. As soon as that calculator is shared and put on their phone, the client's phone, all the realtor has to do is say, hey, why don't you crunch some figures so that, the realtor's offering something of value to the customer, because mortgage calculator gets searched like 35 million times on YouTube every month.
Yeah.
So like,
Wow.
give them something of value, right? It's all data driven, right? So if they do that, then my CRM, the next morning, we just click a button that's a video of me going on, hey, you got my calculator. This is how you use it. Da, 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 da. The next step would be to fill out a pre-qualification quiz, like all that stuff. And the realtor can do that too right away in real time with the client if they want. And then the client's getting different messaging for each step of the. So like if they have the calculator, they'll get one set of messaging. If they fill out a pre-qual form, they're getting another set, and everything stops, at various triggers.
Yeah. I'm not going to say the name, but I think I know what system you're using. I think I do. But it's good and it works. And I think that more people should be doing it. But I think like most people today, systems are only good as the people behind them. So you're saying you're rolling this out Monday, so you don't have any real life, necessarily any real experience getting realtors to follow through with those.
So we have 4 realtors that we've already given their, let's say, top level entry points to.
Yep.
One client used it with one client, and they closed, and the realtor never even talked to the client after the first, meet and greet on the phone. They gave them the calculator. We did all the rest, and then 30 days later, the client contacted the realtor because we've already been messaging with them for 30 days.
Yep.
And the client found a house. The realtor didn't even have to show them the house. Got under contract. That was a $28,000 commission for the realtor.
Wow.
She used it. So 100%. She was a one time.
Wow.
And then we have a buddy that's using it. He's a part-time realtor, and he already has like 10 people in his pipeline.
So he's driving people into that through his database and through his sphere of influence, and just like you're multiplying. If you get one realtor to say, I see the engagement in the system, I'm going to let my customers, my friends, my family, everyone know about it, maybe through social media, through email campaign. People then come in through that funnel, which is a completely new funnel for you, right? Which you did not have access to. And now they're coming down and you're helping to manage those relationships and get people until they're ready. And then like that one realtor just got an accepted offer and a check essentially.
Mm-hmm.
That must be an easy sell for you then to go back to that realtor and say like, hey, do you know anybody else in your office that would like this system?
Well, yeah. So they do have an office of like 20 realtors, and we're just waiting to coordinate when we can, launch it for like, first off, like, so I have, just like I have for clients, I have 3 realtor presentations.
Yeah.
Right. A meet and greet one, like, hey, where it's like, hey, are we a good fit? Where we have a light connection of, hey, do you want to do business together? Let's test this out. And then there's one, where we actually launch the presentation, and then I have an office presentation where I talk about like linear growth, exponential growth, where I kind of take some concepts and ideas from people like Alex Hormozy, if you've ever heard of him.
Yeah, the gym guy.
Yeah, dude, he's got really good stuff.
He's a crazy marketer. Super good.
Uh-huh. So we basically, what we built last year was like the infrastructure then to scale at like hopefully a rapid pace, right? With, maybe a little bit of stability in people's psyche, and really then it comes down to pounding the pavement, pounding the phones and getting, appointments, and because everything's done with appointments. In most of the realtors, we've met with like 15 realtors as we've been piloting this. I think maybe 1 or 2 out of the 15 had a calendar that they used regularly, and nobody had a same way every time structure.
Yeah.
Ever. So like, my big question was like, so what's your process? They're like, I don't know. What do you mean process? I tell them to get pre-approved them. I take them out to. I'm like, no, you need to give them something of value. Like, what's your unique selling proposition? What's a funnel? Like, a lot of times they didn't even know some of the basic terminology, which is fine, but realtors really are like, they're marketers, they're salespeople, and we're we're trying to grow a business and not just grow like, not just be like beholden to a job. That's like the mission statement that we're building, Jordan and I.
Yeah. So then in like a perfect world, right? What's your, I mean, you've got the amount of deals that you can handle and you can grow your team and you can do all that stuff, but what does the perfect business look like to you?
Yeah. So if I look like 3 years out, I'm not necessarily doing the day-to-day stuff anymore. It would be great to be like a mastermind with 10 broker owners where we're helping them grow their business, like-minded people, right? Like, let's grow a business. Let's not just grow like our unit count, but just to be able to attract people that have the same desire to not like feel so grindy. like,
Yeah.
really that's what we're doing. We're driving to have, processes and systems in place with the right team members at some point in time where everybody wins. You're not just relying on one person. It's being so I went through it first last year. So being in the mountains by yourself, having moved here about a year ago, I don't really know people. So like I'm trying to build an infrastructure of people that are like friendly, want to hang out, want to be like friends and family, like feel, but also like just, potentially make millions of dollars. Like that's ultimately like what we're trying to do here.
You're building your community. Yep. And so what does that look like? I mean, I'll tell you a little story after I ask you, but for you, what are you looking for then? I mean, you said like mastermind, people that are inspirational, they've got same goals, they want to make money, they want, but what's a model match business partner for you?
Yeah, my buddy Brett's a pretty good business match. So he's very similar. He is a broker owner. His brokerage opened about 5 years ago prior to the pandemic. I was like his in-house lender. Things were rocking and rolling. Where we would have, marketing Mondays, and then we would have group meetings where we presented ideas and concepts and stuff. And it felt less like each person was like an individual entity. It felt like, okay, we're all kind of learning how to grow and build a business together.
Yeah.
Like that was an ideal situation. And then of course the pandemic hit and, nobody could go anywhere. And then, so that was for me, like that felt great. Like, it was a place where, people could bring the dogs to the office. There was an open space, and what an open space is in here in Colorado, it's like back in Illinois, they'd be called like forest preserves, right? It's just taxpayer land where there's like ponds and fishing, and it's like a place where you like actually like to go. Like that's for me, like that time of business growth was super fun because it was like we wanted to go there. We had quality conversations. There was very good brainstorming. That was where like I started doing all my video, and then kind of came up with like the concepts of all these conversion drip, like by talking to people and just hearing like, oh, this freaking lenders did this or did that. So you just, if you're soaking up the data, right? It's, I just like open communication, that's the type of mastermind I'm trying to, connect with the right people. Cause I think it's quality, not quantity.
Oh, very much so. Right. Yeah. I mean, I early on in my career, I was just, I'll work with any realtor, just send me a deal. And like, I took some abuse and I hated it. And then I realized that like, I didn't have to work with them. And I realized, well, I need to build a business by design. And so I started, at the time, I was big time into golf. So I played very competitively for a long time. And I was like, I only want to work with golfers. That's it. So my business meetings were always on the golf course. Always. It's like, hey, go play golf with a realtor for 6 hours. And at the end of this, you're going to figure out if they're a fit for you or not, And I only want golfers or like young aspirational business people that were in real estate. So I would like literally build lists based on golf handicaps. Who do I want to go after? Okay, I hired a guy on Upwork to cross-reference the Portland area realtor list with if they had a handicap. So I would classify my realtors based on their skill level, based on, how often they played, based on all that stuff. And then I would send marketing to them, give them a call, ask them to go hit balls with me. And hey, you'll play golf with anybody. Like I'll go on a mountain bike ride with anybody, If they're mountain bikers, they're in. They're part of the community, So that was huge for me because then every single person I talked to or that I worked with was a friend, and there was never any calls on the weekends and evenings because they respected my time too much, So sounds a lot like what you're building now, which is really awesome. So I'm excited to see you do that.
Yeah, I'm excited too. I mean, like, it's been a grind. It's, personally, last year and, kind of you get down just going through that type of life altering scenario. And it's like, there's a handful of people that have been there and it's just like great. And, my buddies that are piloting this stuff with me, and or working with me, that, kind of been there to just, listen or just build me up when you're always, feeling down or whatever. And then it's just carrying on to like once you go down the rabbit hole of like trying to like get out of your own funk, motivational stuff, personal development, like it just happened. Like your phone definitely like listens to you. So
Yeah, for sure.
fed like all of this stuff, whether it's a podcast, this or that.
Yeah.
And that's just what we've been doing. Like we've grown, not unit count, so far yet this year, because it's been, we've had closings or whatever, but our system is ready. Let's get it out in the marketplace and let's just, let where I feel like if you do things the right way, you'll magnetize people of like minds and they'll just find you. So so that's the general like strategy moving forward. We've got the infrastructure. We just have to have more conversations and more presentations and, and then the train starts rolling in the positive direction. And of course the byproduct of that is revenue.
It's really hard too, because it's not instant, building the right business is not an instant transition, and finding the right partners is not an instant thing either. You have to be really, really careful. And I remember in 2013 to 15, when I was like, those are kind of my last full-time years originating, I would fire more realtors than I would find realtors to work with. I'd just call them up and say, hey, here's a great person, send your loans to them. They're good at what they do, but I don't want to work with you anymore. And a lot of them were good people too. Like there's nothing wrong with them, but I was having to be very particular with who I spent my time with and on, because I was big time into the idea that you are the average of the 5 people you are hanging around most. And these people were good people, not good business minds, had no growth aspirations, had no marketing chops or desire to learn them. And I only want to work with people that were like what you're describing, And so,
yeah.
And then of course I closed my mortgage business, so who cared anyways? But
well, at least you handed off somebody else to them. I mean, that's nice.
Yeah. Yeah, and I started handing everybody off. Like when I started Pre-Approve Me, right, one of my companies, I started handing everybody off to a loan partner I brought in. And he was going through a divorce at the time. I did not know that, but it was really rough for him. And so the business went like this and then just crashed because he was going through so much personal turmoil that he couldn't manage the mortgage side, even though he'd been in the industry 15 years, And so we ended up just closing it because, I may have ADHD. And so I find something I love and then I like dive all the way in. And that's sort of what I did with my software companies. But yeah.
Company. Cool. Which other ones do you
have? So right now I've got Pre-Approve Me, which is the mortgage tech company. I've got a company called Apex Reviews, which is a reputation management company.
Oh.
And then I just started a passion project like a week ago called Dad Bod MTB. It's like a mountain bike podcast, blog, website. And so that's sort of like about trying to grow the sport for kids, basically, and give like parents who don't have a passion for it the resources they need to support their kids. And then also just a place for me to like document all the crazy shit I'm doing with mountain biking anyways, because it's fun and I like having fun.
Sweet.
Yeah. So what are you doing? Like, what are you doing these days? I mean, you mentioned you spent 3 days at Vail running downhill mountain bikes, and that's not when you tore your Achilles. You tore it playing pickleball.
Yeah, well, so that was the week leading up to pickleball. So the fall was all just like rehabbing that. It was literally 2 months in a boot and or a cast, combination crutches, all that crap, and then like slowly getting to walk with a shoe on, all that type of thing. So it's been a challenge to say the least. I mean, where I live, it's snowy and it's icy and like literally people fall all the time. But like I spend a lot of time reading. I'm in an investing class. I'm obviously running what we talked about already on the podcast, and I go to church now again. I'm like journaling, so I'm just kind of keeping my mind kind of open to ideas and wherever I might go. So self work, I guess. And I spend a lot of time walking Bruce, my dog. I mean, we try to get 10 miles a day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, which is really easy. So right here in Eagle where I live, I mean, like you could take your mountain bike out and there's 400 miles of trails. Like you're gone. It's all like wilderness. There's elk down like 100 yards away, right? In the field by the, so I do my stuff during the day. I get out, 2 or 3, 4 times a day, walking the dog, little stints here and there. I'm on vacation a little bit, but yeah, just trying to be better than yesterday, really.
Yeah.
Whatever that means, because I do have some down days because, you think of the what ifs, going through divorce or whatever. And that really screws you up. So, just kind of keeping your mind free of like what if scenarios in your head is, for me, it's a big challenge.
So then the walking, like for you, is that like a great time for you to brainstorm or like come up with ideas? Is that where you're focused?
Yeah. So I'll listen to, so depending on the day, like if I'll go for like an hour and a half walk, let's say. Right. And if there's no cars where we walk through the neighborhood here, it's all by like creeks and, it's gravel paths or whatever. So I'll listen to a podcast for 20 minutes, reflect on whatever's happening. It's a lot of it's just, you're walking and thinking.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no other choice.
Yeah.
Your brain automatically does that.
Yeah.
It really chills out. So like,
I've always found that my best thinking always is when I'm not in, like, I can't get any thinking done in this office.
No. You can come up with your potential strategy in the office, but you got to go away for it to all kind of like start to jive. And then, like I do this on the Stairmaster. I got a Stairmaster at the house here for like rehab. And like, if you listen to a podcast, same thing, because you're moving, right? And then all of a sudden you have like a million texts to yourself. This popped in my head. Like you just get them out on paper, and chicken scratches I got paid booklets of just like, what was I reading? What was I thinking about?
Yeah.
So it's good to get it out, but whether or not it's a good idea, that's another story. But
it's almost not the point though.
Right.
It's the getting that, it's imagination and that kind of thinking it's a muscle. And if you don't work it, and like give yourself the opportunity to work it, it closed down. And I really struggled with this over the last couple of years because I was so deeply embedded in my business that I stopped thinking about the vision side of what we were doing. And I started focusing, and I was just like getting in, like managing a support request, which is like a task that I can check off on a box. Well, that's $20 an hour work.
Mm-hmm.
that's not going to move the needle for my company at all, ever. And so that's actually why we're doing this podcast, is because this is the kind of, these conversations right here are exactly what fuels the inspiration behind where, you know, we want to take the product, and it keeps my mind thinking about more than just the next checkbox, you know? And so that's huge. I mean, an hour and a half a day, my dog would love it if I walked him that much. I don't
like 100 pounds, dude. So like, you know,
wow. What kind of dog is he?
a Dogo Argentino. So
Oh, okay.
Mastiff from Argentina. They're bred for like hunting wild boar and shit. So like they're big, like they're like he's like, looks like a bodybuilder of a dog, right? So he's like, he's chiseled, dude. And he's got, you know, he's better just when he's chill. Like, and he's chill after he's tired.
Yeah.
When he's getting older, he's like 8, his back hip is a little, you know, funky anymore. But, yeah. And for me too, like there's only, like I got 2 screens in here. Like you got to get out of, you know, when you're too deep in the rabbit hole of like what you're talking about, like this task that I did and why can't the stupid trigger work or whatever, like your brain starts to like ache, or mine does anyways. Like, it's just like, I gotta get out of here and like chill out, right? Versus like taking, you know, an ibuprofen and just hammering it out, right? Like get out of here. And then sometimes you realize, oh, fuck it. Like, no, it's not even a big deal.
Usually it's not. And it usually doesn't have to happen right now. And oftentimes there are better people to do it than you.
So, yeah. So have you ever read... So what you're talking about, Who Not How?
I've not read that.
Yeah, it's amazing. So there's a podcast on this on Bigger Pockets, maybe? You know?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Bigger Pockets, awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think the writer, Benjamin Hardy, so he's, you know, once you Google him and Dan Sullivan, it's all like who, not how. So who can do this instead of me learning how to do it?
Big time. That's huge.
And a thing. And then the 12-week year is an implementation system that we use.
Oh, that's cool. So
we're like 10 weeks into the first 12-week year, which is a quarter. And it's literally like you, what I found was during last year when I was building all this out, the idea is there, but once you start like getting into like the granular things that have to happen for that to be, let's say, customer facing, whatever the project is, there's way more. You have to think about it way more and outline it way more. And then if you break it down into small enough tasks daily, like you can, like we launched our CRM in less than a month, taking all of our shit from the old CRM to the new one, recalibrating it all. I mean, it's a massive undertaking, and it's still, you know, any task like that you can do. You know, it's basically an execution system that it's all based off of the same thing. Focus on what matters. Fuck off with all the rest, you know, that doesn't. We think that our email matters. It doesn't. You think that being available on the weekend to a client matters. It doesn't. Like, or like just implement a system that's designed for execution. And that's what, like we're using some of these gurus, you know, systems to our advantage. Well, we'll see if it works out, but I believe it.
I think it will. They're tested as long as you guys stick to it, you know. Right. That is a hard lesson that, you know, I think there's that dopamine response when you get done with a task. Oh, I feel good. I did something. I responded to that email. I feel good now. Well, that's like, that email did not, like you said, that did not matter. Or like you didn't need to write response to that email. And so I struggle with that. Not personally, really. I'm great at ignoring my emails, but a lot of people on my team, it's like first in, boom, emails. They're getting into it, and like they get sucked into that world. And like, instead of having a task list of the most important things. So this is one of the things I learned a long time ago, that I'm human, right? So I fall in and out of these habits, and I got to keep reminding myself. And that is that, like, I put one thing that I want to achieve for the day on a list. And if I get that done and I don't achieve anything else, it's a win.
That's basically the concept of the 12-week year. You focus on the most important things. Everything else, if it gets done, it's great. If it doesn't,
Yep. And eventually those things that are on the list that aren't the one thing, they make their way up or they make their way off into somebody else's one thing list. And so it is possible to have a one thing for somebody else on your team to say like, hey, listen, this isn't my one thing, but this is your one thing. And it has to get done today, or like we need it by Monday or whatever. Then it gets done. And so that's actually one of the beautiful things about this podcast is my one thing is just recording this with you. Just like having a cool conversation with the guy who's building his business by design. And I just hand this to somebody else on my team, and their one thing is to take it and make it work for like all of our listeners. And I always get stuck, and I would not record the videos because I was afraid of the next step. I didn't know how to cut.
Fear of the unknown can make you frozen.
Yeah, big time. It really changed when that team member said, I'll own that. Like, I can do that. It's going to take a lot of work, but I'll do it. And I'm like, then I'll get 2 interviews a week, easy. And it's been awesome.
It starts with the vision, right? So like, where do you want to be personally and business, development wise as well? Like in 10 years, and you work backwards. And then if you can find the right team members that can take, so like my thing is like, I hate cold. I freaking can't stand it. I never was good at going door to door selling candy bars for Little League or whatever. I can't stand it. Yep. So like, Jordan's like, dude, I'll be the business development rep. I'm good at presenting and, taking what's in my brain and putting it into simple form and, presenting concepts and ideas and like the development of the system, let's call it. Right. So it's like, yeah, if you surround yourself with the right people, even if it starts off shitty, it's only going to get better because that one person's doing the same thing every time.
Yeah.
Like a specialist, really.
Yeah. That's huge. Yeah. We had another guest who was telling us kind of the same thing. And that is a game changer when you figure out that like, you don't have to be the best at something. Like somebody else can do that thing. So I'm interested in read that book. Who Not How. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's the idea is, well, Dan Sullivan, the creator of the system way back in, I think they started in like the 70s. He's an entrepreneur and that's what he coaches is entrepreneurs. But he's like, if you're not focusing on your best tasks that are driving, your company forward, he's like, then you're wasting your time. You need someone else. And then he's like, one of his other things is if you have enough money, you don't have a problem. Right.
Yeah.
Right. So like you said, what was it? You went out to Fiverr or something and you had somebody just freelance something for you. That's basically, it's the concept.
Yeah. Finding those resources, those people that can do that stuff. That is actually the beautiful thing about today versus maybe even 10 years ago is that you can find specialists online to do little tasks or things for you for cheap.
Dude, like sometimes $15.
Yeah.
It's like insane. Like, what was I doing? I had to like figure out the URL redirect for something on GoDaddy for one of my websites, like, I don't know, like 2 years ago. I'm like, what the fuck, dude? It took me like days. I was like, why am I like, figure this up? I was like, forget it. Then somebody had said, there's like freelancers that'll do that. I'm like, okay, where? There's like Fiverr. And someone did it for me for, it's like $28 or $25. And then you get a little tip. And the guy was done with it in 15 minutes.
Yeah, I usually got like out the door for your walk and he's done.
What the hell am I doing?
I know.
But yeah, so like, it's all the same thing. It's just like, if you can attract the right people to help you with your vision and they benefit personally and professionally from that vision because you're the magnet that they want to take energy from, well, positively, not just suck it out of you.
Yeah,
like
right.
People will do all sorts of stuff.
Yeah. Amazing, dude. Love it.
So that's the general idea of what we're trying to do.
Super cool. You know what? Yeah, like I hate to say it, but dude, the market shift is kind of what a lot of times that little waiting period, that little lull in your business where it's grindy. It's exactly what you need to set yourself up for that long-term vision you have.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause I mean, the stress level of COVID when we didn't have a system, I mean, the money was great, but I'm telling you, like, that might have been more stressful than the grindy feeling that we have now of like, oh my gosh, like, we're almost bored because there's, a handful of deals every month, right?
Yeah.
But we took that anxiety and then built out a system designed for the future.
Love it. Awesome. Bob, dude, thanks so much for your time today.
Love it. Thanks so
It's been
much.
great to talk to you.